All right, yo, what's going on, y'all? Peace. So, shout out to the whole Unified Squad, man. Shout out to Dante. Shout out to Anthony, man. Shout out to my manager Nathan. Shout out to David, man. Shout out to my cousin Soldier too, man, for sending me this video. Shout out to my pops. Shout out to Amar. Let's get right into it, man. So, as you guys can see, this is just a video that I was sent by, once again my little brother, my little cousin, Soldier. Of course, you can see this undisputed. Why LeBron James is the most hated player in the NBA. So I haven't even watched this, and I already know where they're gonna go with this. I know Shannon Sharp is gonna be far too over emotional in trying to plead his case, and Skip Bayless is probably most likely gonna be more aligned with the truth and have a lot more rationale when it comes to deciphering exactly what's going on and the hate that LeBron James gets. So let me say this right now. When it comes to the hate that LeBron James gets, most of the people outside of the NBA, because I'm not in the NBA, right, or the NBA circles. So when it comes to outside of the NBA, right, and most of the people that I'm familiar with that have had issues and that are assumed LeBron James haters, right? We're assumed LeBron James haters because we view LeBron James in a perspective that's not of idolization, that's not of fandom. You understand? So even though we may get flack for the things that we say because we don't view things in the light of the mass and popular. So when it comes to a lot of the issues that people have with LeBron James, a lot of people have with the issues that they have with LeBron James, not even that people necessarily have problems with LeBron James the person. You understand? A lot of the times people have issues with the way LeBron James goes about things or with the way how the media portrays LeBron James and how LeBron James never gets any blame. How LeBron James is able to do anything. It's player empowerment when LeBron James goes and teams up and creates super teams and tries to recruit three of the top 15, three of the top 10 players in the NBA. But when other people do it, it's all to beat the 36-year-old LeBron James, and it's all to beat LeBron James, and he's a threat. So it's really just the way that LeBron James is portrayed and the way that they hold him up in the media. It's like you can never say anything bad about LeBron James. You can never, mention anything about LeBron James' shortcomings and things of that nature because LeBron James is the only player in NBA history to have an excuse for everything. LeBron James fans make an excuse for literally every single thing that LeBron James has done. And the fact that LeBron James' team up was the starter in initiating, player empowerment, right, and things of that nature and teaming up with other superstars, even though he is the one to change that diaphragm and bring that paradigm into the NBA, what it has is it's, excluded the competition. A lot of people are sick and tired of seeing one team or one person in the finals all the time. That's a great thing. It's in the testament to LeBron James because he's, a lot of basketball players were not, and a lot of all-time greats were never able to win and get that achievement under their belt. You understand? Under their belt. So, with LeBron James being able to team up and win the way that he wanted to do and the way that he, in his eyes, that he felt was right, then, it's a good thing because, once again, a lot of all-time greats weren't able to get that ring. They weren't, even though they were great enough to win, they were just unfortunate. A lot of people were, unfortunate enough to go up against a juggernaut and Michael Jordan and those Bulls back in the days, or certain teams where free agency and player empowerment wasn't a thing, where free agency and player mobility wasn't a thing whatsoever up until the 1980s with the free agency. You understand? So it's not like it's just that LeBron James has changed the paradigm, and a lot of people, from what it seems like to me, a lot of all-time greats have an issue with LeBron James doing it because first of all, they weren't able to win. Secondly, they feel like LeBron James took the easy way out. With teaming up and super and building super teams and creating super teams with a whole bunch of with stacked decks. LeBron James goes where he knows that where it's gonna be in the favor of him stacking the deck. You understand? And I necessarily don't have a problem with it, because and when it comes to sports and anything, cultural, even though sports necessarily isn't cultural, but kind of to an extent it is. But when it comes to certain things, everything is going to change. The guard will change and the paradigm will change. So, look at rap music. There's no backpack rappers and things of that nature anymore. You only have mumble rap and gangster music, or and fake ass gangster music and shit like that. You know what I mean? So once again, with history, with time, the history will change and the way that we view things will change. You understand? Which is a good thing, and it's a good thing that Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kawhi Leonard was able to win championships and finals without creating super teams. You understand? Because it keeps the polarity and it keeps it even. So anyway, getting back to it. Once again, a huge reason why a lot of all-time greats also have an issue with LeBron James. Once again, because they felt he took the easy way out. Once again, look at how much the people got behind Giannis Antetokounmpo. Look at how the media was portraying Kawhi Leonard up until he signed with the Clippers when he won that finals with the Raptors. He was known as the super team killer. Kawhi Leonard was, and it was up until that issue it was up until that point when he signed with the Clippers that the media was loving LeBron or Kawhi Leonard. So anyway, sorry for the long little rant, but as we got a little bit of context of how at least you guys understand how I see it. Let's get into it.
How do you explain this?
Oh, Skip, what happened to those billion of witnesses? They love it. What happened, Skip?
That's about half the world.
No. This said 4 times. 4 times. Oh, what happened? They love it. Everybody loves it. That's not what, but for me, I hate when they do these studies where the study says that this group of people is discriminated. I didn't need a study. Somebody spent some good money when they could have donated that to a worthy cause. I didn't need a study to tell me what I already knew. And let me tell you why. First of all, greatness, people that are great, if you're in a professional sport or you're great, you're going to get hated on. And for what more times than not, it's by people that's never even come in contact with you.
Agreed. That is so Shannon Sharpe, one thing I used to like about Shannon Sharpe was he uses a lot of analogies, but with these analogies, he's able to get a point across. So what I like about Shannon Sharpe is his analogies. He's always able to relay some type of message, and he misses a lot of the times with his analogies. But when he hits, man, is he right on the money. This is a really good point. And, it's crazy that you say this because you're on a show with somebody who's never came in close contact from what we understand with LeBron James. One of the biggest LeBron James critics and haters is Skip Bayless from what we all understand and what we all know, right? And this is why we also talk about idolizing and viewing people in the light of a fan. Why it's unhealthy. Because when you're great, you're going to have, once again, Shannon makes a great point. When you're great, people are going to throw rocks at the throne. They're going to throw shots at the throne all the time. It's always going to happen, right? For any great, especially when you're a superstar in any sport, right? So, with LeBron James, all right, with a lot of the things, with a lot of the flack and the hate that he gets, not even just with LeBron James, with anybody, a lot of us people who played football in high school or people who played basketball in high school, they view basketball simply as that. That's why they talk so much shit about these guys, because they feel like if I would have spent the time, effort, and energy, I would have been better. I would have been able to do this. I would have been able to do that too. You understand? So you got to understand that just comes along with the territory, especially when you become a superstar. Kawhi Leonard was one of the most underappreciated players or greats in the NBA up until he refused to sign with Kawhi. Up until he refused to sign with LeBron James, and after he won that finals, then people started to hate Kawhi Leonard out of nowhere. You just had Kawhi Leonard haters. Look at Errol Spence, same thing. Wasn't until Errol Spence, dominated. Was it Mikey Garcia? Not Mikey, like Danny Garcia, one of those Garcia boys, where he dominated one of them. And it wasn't up until then where people started to come out and started to hate on him and started to have negative things to say. So this comes along with the territory with being great. We all understand that. That's a great point, Shannon.
That's just the way it works. That's just a part of it.
Sure.
That's just a part of the thing. Also, it's something LeBron came along, Skip, right as the social media era was starting to kick off. And I think it's one of two things also. His threat to Michael Jordan.
Oh, my God. So you started to make a good point at first, Shannon. Let me just cut you off right there. You started to make a good point with saying that LeBron James came up in the era as social media was rising. That is true. LeBron James did come into the league at what, 05, 06, 04, something like that. So that's when MySpace and things of that nature started to come up popping. So that's a very good point. And you also got to understand, because of that, with LeBron James coming out with social media and coming out on magazines, embracing the fact that he was the chosen one, he portrayed himself as being a threat. So it's not like he's viewed as a threat to Michael Jordan. He portrayed himself as that way. So when he came in and he didn't have an immediate effect or for all the shortcomings that LeBron James has had, it's not because of the threat that he's viewed. It's not because he's viewed as a threat. It's because he put himself in that light. You understand? If LeBron James would have never put that pressure under himself, LeBron James, actually could be considered a little bit greater than what he actually is. Especially if the media didn't dick ride LeBron James so much. But the media has the apple of their eye, and they have certain medias to where they want to portray as superheroes and villains, and they have certain people that they are casted for that they know is going to be able to carry them for years to come. And LeBron James is one of those players.
And when the social media really was starting to boom, many people believe he was as good, if not better, than their beloved Kobe. And so if you think about it,
I would agree with that. I would agree with that because not even when he came into the league, LeBron James was already viewed as being better than Kobe Bryant when Kobe Bryant came into the league. You understand? Because when if we just look at the numbers, man, LeBron James was a far better player than Kobe Bryant when LeBron James came into the league. Quiet as kept, Devin Booker was better than Kobe Bryant when he came into the league. But that's aside from the point. Devin Booker came in as the number one scoring option. Kobe Bryant didn't. He averaged 13 minutes a game, 15 minutes a game. He was like a sixth man. He wasn't even a starter. You understand? So when LeBron James came into the NBA, and LeBron James is a greater player than Kobe Bryant. I don't care who disagrees. When it comes to better though, like in a one-on-one frame, and who's a better basketball player who can just, that's Kobe Bryant. In a game of one-on-one and things of that nature, then Kobe Bryant is the better basketball player. But in a team frame, LeBron James is a far greater basketball player than Kobe Bryant. He has a far greater effect on the team than Kobe Bryant. You understand? LeBron James was able to take damn near every single coach that he's played for to the Eastern Conference Finals or to the finals. You understand? Kobe Bryant was only able to get out of the first round with Shaq and Paul Gasol and Phil Jackson. He never got out of the first round with Phil Jackson, ever. He was having trouble making the playoffs. He missed the playoffs without Phil Jackson. You understand? So that's a good point too, Shannon.
Kobe fans do not like LeBron. Because
agree. Kobe fans do not like LeBron James because they have an inflated personality. They have an inflated ego, and they have not an inflated ego. They view Kobe as being inflated and greater than what he actually is. A lot of people were brainwashed with Kobe Bryant, being the second greatest of all time, being top 5 when he's not even close to top 5. In my personal opinion, Kobe Bryant's not even close to top 5. He's not greater than LeBron James. There's no way you can tell me that Kobe Bryant is greater than Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Larry Bird. You understand? Magic Johnson, let alone Michael Jordan. And I think I only named like 8 people, but he's not greater than Shaquille O'Neal. Bill Russell. That's 10 right there. I don't believe he's greater than Isaiah Thomas. Just my personal opinion. But a lot of people have an over infatuated idea or person they view Kobe from a lens that's not realistic. They view Kobe as a god. And LeBron fans do this with LeBron as well, which is why LeBron fans a lot of the time don't like Kobe Bryant either. But it's like a cult, like a personality for the fan base that they've built for each other, that they've created and accumulated for themselves. You understand?
he was that, okay, Kobe. And then all of a sudden, GOAT James came on the scene, and then all of a sudden, he ain't better than Kobe. He ain't got no titles. Then all of a sudden, he started winning titles. And all of a sudden he started getting MVPs. And so I think that has something to do with it, Skip. And plus...
Agreed. I agree because LeBron James has been able to win more than Kobe Bryant being the leader of his own team.
You know, his stance, a lot of times, Skip, if you speak out against something that I'm not in favor of, well, bro, I ain't got no time for you. So I think it's a large body. His greatness is just like anybody that said, if you're a Tom Brady fan and people say, Mahomes better, man, I hate Mahomes. Or Aaron Rodgers better. That just comes along with the territory. But I didn't need this study to tell me what I know. I'm on my Twitter. I read comments when ESPN or House Highlights or whatever post things about LeBron, and I see the comments. So I'm not surprised by this. I don't think anybody's surprised by this. You want to say, oh, it's not that bad, but I know. I just wish that we could have had social media in the 90s, so I could have got a gauge and to see if Jordan got this kind of vitriol. We'll never know. We know
Michael Jordan already let it be known if he grew up in the time of social media, he wouldn't have been a professional athlete. So we would have never been able to see that. I agree with you. I would have loved to be able to see it too, especially because with all the attention and all the access that we have to certain players off the basketball court. You know, but the thing is, Michael Jordan was raised in a matriarchal household, or a patriarchal household dominated by his father. You understand? So he already knew exactly what it would have been because he sees what certain players have to go through now. So he already understands. He said he wouldn't have been able to. He wouldn't have been in the eye of the media. He wouldn't have been a professional basketball player. So that's one thing that we already. Michael Jordan knows his limitations and he knows who he is. You understand? So. And there's a lot of players I would have loved to see in the social media era, especially like the Dennis Rodmans, Charles Barkley's, the Matt Barneses, even though they kind of played in the social media era, especially when it was first, coming up. But Matt Barnes wasn't a superstar, nor Steven Jackson, things of that nature. These were guys who were getting in hella trouble and just fucking ridiculous, couldn't think for themselves. Dennis Rodmans, a dude who had, mental issues and psychological issues, and who dealt with a lot after the death of his their first head coach, who was like a father figure. But that's another topic for another day. But when it comes to all of the people in the NBA, right, especially today, who have to come up in the social media era and who have to deal with a lot of the things that come with social media, you got to be able to take into account. This is another reason why inflation has been playing such a huge part and been so prevalent in the society as well. Because these are certain things that they're going to have to take into account. They didn't, they had certain clauses back in the day, or even today too, where you can even find certain videos where there were clauses in certain contracts that if you weighed a certain amount, or even if you play in the NBA, right. If you're playing college football or things of that nature, you can't even be caught in a pickup game. You can get fined if you get caught playing basketball, if you hurt yourself playing basketball outside of football, because you're putting the team at risk. So these are things that's already taken into account nowadays in the NBA contracts and things of that nature, and even with the NFL contracts.
Kobe got some blowback. We know all the great players that came along that was in the social media era gets that, but to the extent that LeBron gets it, it's unrivaled. It's unmatched.
Very interesting. So my first reaction was, I guess all these years that I've at least been objective about LeBron James, maybe I wasn't so alone sitting out on the end of the limb. Maybe there was like half the world out there saying, you know what, you're right. Because I think half the world sits back and hears people like you say he's the GOAT, and they say he's the what?
Agreed. Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp made really, really good points in order to start it off. But once again, Skip Bayless understands a lot of the the so-called black man's mindset, right? And this is why this is why certain people we're viewed as LeBron James haters and things of that nature, because they're able to view him in a proper light, in a proper perspective. You understand? So that's a very good point. Let me go back and get this all in just.
Right. that I've at least been objective about LeBron James, maybe I wasn't so alone sitting out on the end of the limb. Maybe there was.
Agreed. Skip Bayless has it's been multiple people who just haven't had the voice, and now with social media, people are allowed to have a voice, and with with independent sources and things, not even sources but independent media, like Dreamers Pro Max, Carcino for Life, Ticket TV, things of that nature. These are why they're becoming so prevalent and even so much bigger, because they don't have anybody that's they don't have a boss above them. So when you have a player like LeBron James, who is a Nike asset, right, a Nike corporation asset, right, somebody like LeBron James, the media is going to always talk about and view LeBron James in a beautiful light, which is only going to make it worse for LeBron James. Throughout Michael Jordan's entire career, he wasn't always loved and appreciated. They were saying that Michael Jordan was the only scoring champion and couldn't lead his team to championships. You understand? And that was the media saying that. So once again, a lot of the time, people don't have the platform to be able to speak, oppose the things and the narratives pushed by the media. So that's a good job, Skip.
Like half the world out there saying, you know what? You're right. Because I think half the world sits back and hears people like you say he's the GOAT, and they say he's the what?
And what about people that sit back and listen to you and talk about he's not very good?
Well, the thing is, Skip Bayless never says things like Shannon Sharpe is not very good. He says he's not as great, as people like you like to say, and the people who like to, to overglorify LeBron James, and give him excuses for everything. So that's a lie, Shannon Sharpe.
Who's not very good?
You, LeBron. Because you minimize everything you do.
See, and look, because he minimalizes, because he in Shannon's eyes, just because he views or he understands and puts accountability and culpability on LeBron James, and in Shannon Sharpe's eyes, that's minimalizing and diminishing everything that he does, right? No, you can still be appreciative and still hold somebody accountable. You understand?
Thing that he does, well, you go back, he scored 72 points, but guess what? He missed 4 free throws.
No,
that's what you do.
It's not that. It's just in the big picture, the facts are the facts.
What's the big picture?
He is so debatable because you proclaim him the GOAT, and he's, I'm going to be nice about this.